Hi everyone, and welcome to this video report on AI implementation in a real-world business context. For this project, I had the opportunity to interview Andrea Testi, who's an Italian entrepreneur and head of operations at Ristorando SRL, a food service and logistics company based in Milan. So basically, Ristorando operates across northern Italy, managing kitchens operations and food distribution for clients such as school cafeterias, corporate canteens, restaurant chains, and delivery-only kitchens. What makes Ristorando particularly interesting is their journey from a traditional low-tech industry to one that's now actively experimentally with artificial intelligence to improve day-to-day efficiency, safety, and decision-making. So, despite starting with limited digital maturity, the company is now exploring AI applications in areas like hygiene compliance, real-time fridge monitoring, and stock optimization. Andrea has been directly involved in these initiatives, leading them from the initial problem identification stage all the way through prototype development and pilot implementation. His insights give us a clear picture of what it actually takes to introduce AI in a business where technology has never been the focus. So, let's dive into the key highlights and insights that came out from my conversation with Andrea Testi. What really stood out to me from the very beginning is how this whole AI journey didn't start with some big tech vision. It actually began with a very practical problem. Ristorando was having repeated issues with food storage compliance, and at one point, one of their fridges failed during the night, and no one noticed until the next morning. So they ended up having to throw away an entire batch of perishable ingredients, and that one mistake cost them thousands and thousands of euros and really exposed them how fragile their system was. And that's what triggered the first conversation internally. Not about AI right away, but simply about how they could improve reliability and safety in their kitchens. It's interesting how sometimes a painful moment like that becomes the push for a company that needs to try something new. Now, what I found really relatable was how the idea of using AI didn't come from the boardroom, but it actually came from Andrea attending a food supply expo in Bologna. And he saw a quick presentation about computer vision being used in the food industry to monitor hygiene. And it wasn't too technical, but it showed real examples. And that was enough to spark an idea. He came back to the office, pitched it to this team, and first, obviously, people were skeptical. I mean, like AI in kitchen operations, it sounded too futuristic. But then they started breaking the idea down into small specific use cases, like monitoring whether staff were wearing gloves or checking fridge temperatures in real time. Once the team saw that, they began to get on board. So, right now, Restaurant is focusing on two main types of AI. First is computer vision, which they are using through smart cameras in their larger kitchens. These aren't surveillance cameras. They are designed to detect hygiene practices, like if gloves are being used, if airnets here are on, or if surfaces are properly sanitized. The idea is to spot risks and flag them automatically so someone can follow up before it becomes a bigger issue. The second is machine learning, which they apply to inventory and stock level planning. In fact, based on data from past consumption, seasonality, and deliveries, the AI suggests how much of each product to order. This has already helped reduce food waste, especially in school cafeterias where demand can change day by day. So, they're also starting to look at natural language processing. The idea will be to create a kind of voice assistant that kitchen staff could talk to get quick info on procedures, allergies, recipes, and so on. It's still early days, but it shows they're thinking long term. Now, one thing Andrea was really honest about was that at the beginning they weren't ready at all. The company didn't have in-house AI expertise, and many of their systems were outdated. Some processes were still on paper, in fact. So people, before even thinking about AI, they had to standardize and clean up their data. That included how they tracked inventory, cleaning routines, and temperature logs. Without good data, AI can't just work. But the other big part of readiness wasn't technical, it was cultural. People needed to understand what AI was and why it was being introduced. Not to control them, not to replace them, but to support their work. Andrea, in fact, emphasized how important it was to bring people along to show them the benefits and to involve them from the start, especially in the pilot phases. That helped shift the mindset from fear to curiosity. As for implementation, they kept the structure lean. They didn't create a whole new department or bring in a big consulting firm. Instead, they partnered with a small AI consultancy in Milan, and internally, they built a cross functional task force. Just Andrea, someone from operations, someone from IT, and later a few site managers. That team acted as a bridge between the tech developers and the day to day kitchen reality. It was flexible, efficient, and easy to adapt during the pilot. Of course, there was some resistance. At the beginning, people were worried about being watched or about losing their jobs, and that's totally understandable. Andrea said they had to be very clear about the AI actually worked. No one was watching live footage. The cameras only flagged specific hygiene events, and even then, there's still a human review process. They also addressed privacy concern by designing the system around transparency. Footage, in fact, isn't saved long term, and the company made sure to comply with GDPR regulations. They even worked with legal advisor to make sure everything was done right. And another concern they had to deal with was bias. For example, if lighting condition in a kitchen could affect how the AI interprets actions, that's why they're still using human supervision as a safety net, especially while the models are still learning. And when it comes to results, the company has already seen some clear wins. They've reduced food waste by 18% in the canteens where AI is active. They're also seeing more incidents be caught early before they escalate into bigger problems. But what equally important is the qualitative feedback. Staff say they spend less time on repetitive checks, less time with paperwork, and more time actually cooking. And that's a big deal in a sector where timing and focus really matter. And another interesting point Andrea mentioned was the speed of decision making. In fact, site managers now feel more confident about ordering because they don't have just to rely purely on gut feeling. So, overall, the interview really showed me how AI in a traditional business is not about robots revolution. It's about finding the right problem to solve, taking small steps, building trust with your team, and being open to adjust along the way. Looking back at everything Andrea shared during our interview, I think there are several valuable takeaways from business leaders who are considering or are already in the process of implementing AI in their organizations, especially in sectors that are not traditionally digital. The first and most important recommendation is start small and stay focused. One of the biggest mistakes Andrea pointed out was that in the beginning they tried to do too much at once. They wanted a system that worked across all their sites right away. The point is that every kitchen had different layouts, lighting, workflows, and even team dynamics, all factors that influenced how well the AI worked. So, start small with just one or two pilot locations, gave them space to test, adapt, and build something that was truly functional. So, whether you are in logistics, manufacturing, healthcare, or any other industry, don't try to boil the ocean, right? Begin with a specific problem and test a simple, measurable solution. Secondly, don't underestimate the importance of data quality. This is something that often gets overlooked, and that was very clear. Even the smartest AI model can't perform well if it's fed inconsistent or incomplete data. Before jumping into AI, companies need to make sure their existing data, whether it's inventory, customer behavior, or sensory input, is structured, reliable, and centralized. These might mean investing time upfront in data cleaning or even digitalizing paper-based processes. It's not the most exciting part, I know, but it's absolutely essential. And another critical point is organizational readiness is not a prerequisite, it's a process. Ristorando didn't wait until they had an AI department or a full tech team, but they built readiness as they went. They started with a small cross-function team, relied on external expertise, and brought in key people from operations and IT to bridge the gap. This lean and agile structure helped them stay flexible during the pilot phase. And for companies that may feel they're not ready, this is a powerful reminder that you don't have to be perfect to begin. You just need a committed team and a real problem to solve. Also, change management and communication are just as important as the technology itself. In fact, involving staff early in the process, explaining the why behind the change and showing how AI can make their jobs easier, not harder, played a huge role in building trust. This is especially true when there are fears around surveillance or job security, and being transparent and inclusive can turn resistance into engagement. Finally, don't treat AI like a one time project. As Andrea mentioned, AI needs to be monitored, updated, and retrained over time. Operation change and the tools need to evolve with them. Think of AI as an ongoing collaboration between people and technology, not a finished product, but a living part of your business strategy. In the end, AI doesn't need to be intimidating, it just needs to be approached with a clarity, patience, and a focus on solving real problems. That's how you make innovation sustainable and human.